Hi YouTube, welcome back. I hope you had a fantastic week and enjoyed everything that you've read so far. I'm here to do my January wrap up. I had not too bad a month actually. I read 6 books and DNF'd 1, so doing really well. I hope you enjoyed everything you read in January as well. So basically, if you saw my January TBR, you know that I have a chip jar that has 12 books in it that need to be read by the end of the month. I pick one out and that's the one I'm going to read to start with. And then I also have my TBR jar and I have 4 different colours in there with lots of different prompts. I pick one of each colour out and follow that prompt to find a book. So I had from my chip jar I Owe You One by Sophie Kinsella. Then I had finish a DNF, so I picked the Astonishing Colour of After by Emily X.R. Pan. Then I got a green book, which was The Odd Sisters by Serena Valentino. Then I picked a middle grade, and that I decided to pick The Frost Heart by Jamie Littler. Then the last one I picked was Under the Sea, and I picked The Sea Witch by Sarah Henning. So what should I start with? Oh, I've also decided that if I do not finish all the books on my TBR, my punishment is going to be I'm going to buy a book, more than likely from the charity shop, because I don't have a lot of money, so I want to help with the charity shop as well. But I'm going to then be age appropriate book for my daughter's school, and I'm going to donate the book to my daughter's school. So for every book I haven't read in my TBR that I picked from the month before, like my TBR jar and my chip jar, I will buy a book, and Kitty will take it to school for the school library, because I thought I'd like to, if I'm going to get a punishment, I don't want to add more books on, because obviously I'm probably not going to read them. I'm going to put a lot of pressure on myself, so I don't want to do that. So I thought, one, I can help a charity shop out, give some money to them, and two, I can help out Kitty's school, help build their library, because I know they haven't got that many, and books come back damaged, because well, they do sometimes. They're kids, they put them in their bags. We've had a lot of rain here, their bags aren't waterproof, so a lot of them have been damaged and sometimes beyond repair. So I'd like to help build up their books, so I've decided to do that. And also, if I DNF a book, I'm going to give you guys the option to tell me whether I should carry on reading it or if I should just get rid of it, because I obviously didn't like it. Well, unless I DNF it for another reason. But if I DNF it because I couldn't stand it, it made me angry or whatnot, then I will get rid of it after, well, by March or by whatever the next month is, I will get rid of it. So I will leave a poll up above so you can vote on it. So yes, we'll get on. I will go, basically I've read 6 books this month and 1 DNF. So I'll start with the DNF. So my DNF was my chip cup pick, the one that needed to be finished, which was Sophie Kinsella, and it's I Owe You One. I've had this book on my shelf since the very first minute it came out, because she's one of my autobiography authors, but I'm afraid that I hated this book. I didn't DNF it just because I forgot about it or anything like that. I DNF'd it because I hated it hard. I couldn't stand it. You follow this girl called Fixie. She works in her family's hardware store. She works there with her mum, her brother, and her sister. Her mum, she was an alright character. She just wanted everybody to get along. She didn't want any fuss. Don't cause a fuss. Just lets everybody get on. Don't just ignore them if they're being horrible. Let's just keep going and not cause any problems. So she was a problem for me, because if there were problems, she just wanted to sweep them under the carpet, and that's not the way to live your life. You need to speak, you need to talk, you need to be heard, and you need to hear other people, in my opinion. And then everybody else, the love interest, oh my god, couldn't stand him. He was horrible, narcissistic, and it was purely just to move the story along. Her brother and sister were horrible, selfish, belittled Fixie and treated her like rubbish, and it was all purely so that when she met the one, and he was nice and sweet and appreciated her and was kind to her, she would appreciate him more. That everybody in this story was one dimensional. They were horrible just to move the story along. They had no other traits. Her sister was a selfish, horrible person. Her brother was a selfish, horrible person. Her person that she fancied was a selfish, horrible person. And it was just basically to move the story along so that she would appreciate the nice guy when he came along. And it's like, you don't have to have everybody horrible in your life to appreciate somebody that's nice. It's ridiculous. And also the person that she was deeply in love with since she was a teenager, oh God, he made my skin crawl. He was narcissistic. He was horrible. And while having sex, he just was like, how much do you love me? How sexy am I? Do you love my car? And she had to keep thinking of all these things. And she's like trying to enjoy herself while also trying to egg his ego on. And it's like, if somebody has to have their ego stroked to find you attractive and to sleep with you, and you've got to make them feel better about themselves for sleeping with you, then they're not the one. And you shouldn't have, all right, we all got to make each other feel good, we want each other to enjoy each other and all of that, but it's got to be a two-way street. And he was using the fact that in this book, she saves this guy's laptop. He's going to be the nice guy, he's the overly happy nice guy because his laptop got saved from being a bit wet. So I didn't like him either. I didn't get to see him very much. But this guy that she does fancy, he lives in LA. He comes back. He said, I've got to go back to LA if I can't get a job. And the guy that she said the laptop of gave her an IOU. And so she goes to this guy who has his own company to get her guy that she fancies and has fancied for a long time a job. And it's like, you're going to turn up with an IOU. And he's sitting in a coffee shop. This is where I got to. He's sitting in a coffee shop waiting for her to go get a job for him. How are you going to turn up at a job after you've sent somebody else in to get it for you and going holding your head high? And he was using emotional blackmail. Oh, well, I can't be with you because I can't find a job in England. I'm going to have to go back to LA. It's what I know. If you can't do this for me. And emotional blackmail. Oh my God, that is one of my things that I hate. No one should be blackmailed in any way whatsoever, and especially not emotional. Anyone that does that, kick them to the curb. Really angered me. Could not. And I really hope that when you vote up at the top, you vote that I don't have to finish this book, because it just made me so angry. I didn't like any of the characters. They were all one-dimensional. They were all just horrible just to push the story along. And I didn't like the emotional blackmail, and I couldn't believe that she would willingly, even though the guy did give her an IOU, go in to get a job for somebody else, and he would willingly go in holding his head high when he didn't deserve the job. He didn't work for it. He didn't even go for an interview. He just got it because he emotionally blackmailed her, and she saved some guy's laptop. Oh my. Next, it's Supernova. I'm going to go in the order of how much I love them, I think. that's the order I'm going to go in, or either I'm just going to grab them randomly. I'm not too sure. But this is the third in the Renegade series by Marissa Myers, and I thought I couldn't love Marissa Myers anymore after the Lunar Chronicles, but I loved Supernova. Thought it was a brilliant conclusion. The only bit I would gripe about is the end, the epilogue. Did not like that. Do not like what that could entail, and I will pretend if she does go where I think she's going with that, I'm going to pretend it doesn't exist. But I have done a full spoilery gush, and I hopefully, if I work it out, link it below. But yes, the Renegades follows a world with superheroes, basically a lot like the X-Men. They're persecuted by people without powers. The arch enemies rise up to take power. The Renegades rise up to stop them. And there's a big war, and then the Renegades win, and it's set after that. And this one, well, I won't say too much about this one because obviously it'll spoil the rest of them, but basically we follow Adrian, who is a renegade, and Nova, who is an anarchist, who is one of the bad guys, and she infiltrates the Renegades to bring them down from the inside because she believes they're all bad, they're not doing what's right. And Adrian, he believes the anarchists are all bad and they're not doing what's right. And they come to realise that they're both right and they're both wrong, and there is room for improvement, and if they work together it could make a better world. And I just loved it. I loved it, and I shipped their romance. I really did. So I would highly recommend. Next, the one I really loved was Frost Heart by Jamie Littler. This, so sweet. I love all of Jamie Littler's artwork. He is fantastic artist, fantastic writer, and basically we follow Ash, and he lives in this frozen world, which is been whittled down to a small few people living in strongholds scattered about far apart. They don't get to see each other because in between is all ice and snow, and underneath the ice and snow are leviathans and monsters. And the only way they ever get to see other people outside their stronghold is people on there are pathfinders that are on ice sleds that go between, but he lives in a stronghold up far north, so they very rarely see anybody. And yeah, he is this thing called a song weaver, which means he can sing to the Leviathans and calm them down and communicate with them. But that is shunned in his stronghold and pretty much in the whole world, because they believe, well, if you can kind of influence the monsters, they can influence you to help their cause to get rid of humans. And he is kicked out of his stronghold, and he is picked up by the Frostheart, which is a Pathfinder sled, and he goes on an adventure. And he also goes looking for his parents who left years ago because they were Pathfinders and they never returned. And he goes on an adventure. He starts to learn what being a song weaver means, and you get to explore this amazing freezing cold landscape, and it is wonderful. It's so good. I'm making Kitty read it, and she is actually really enjoying it, and she's not really that much of a reader, so highly recommend for everybody and anybody. I next enjoyed The Odd Sisters by Serena Valentino. This is kind of like origin stories of all the bad guys Disney have got some Serena Valentino to do. Like they did, it's basically the bad guys' origin stories, Mother Gothel, Maleficent, and all of those. And throughout all those stories, there are the odd sisters, and they pretty much put the Mother Gothel, Ursula. They are bad. They've had bad things, and they probably are going to be a bit bad. But the sisters, as aspirated, they make things worse, and you get to see their story and how it all combines with the rest of the stories and pulled together so neatly. There are a couple more of these books coming out, but she has wrapped up all of the other books she's written and pulled them all together and wrapped it up nicely. I think she'll probably go on with the Odd Sisters more than any more villain stories, but I thought this was amazing. It's a short little novella and it was just amazing. If you like origin stories of the villains and you've read any of them, read all of them before you read this, because this ties up all the villains' origin stories that she's already written. But highly recommend, really one. I think this is the next one that I liked, which is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. This had me in hysterics. For the first half of the book, I wasn't too sure, it wasn't just a parody of Harry Potter or Mickey take. I couldn't work out if she liked Harry Potter or she didn't like Harry Potter. It just made me giggle. You've got Hagrid, character in here who is a woman, crazy goat herder. Ron, to be honest, would be the blonde female in this. Hermione is the girl that likes to eat a lot and is the Harry character's best friend and is a bit of a know-it-all but still very good. You've got Draco Malfoy and Baz, and Simon is like the Harry Potter character, and it just had me in hysterics to start with. I didn't know where it was going. I couldn't work out if I enjoyed it, but once Baz came into it and about halfway through the book, I kind of started enjoying it. It started going off on its own. It started to be its own. It got into its own after that, so I did really enjoy it. It was a good fun read. The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. I bought this knowing what everybody said about it, but I bought it because it was New Orleans 1800s, and we follow, and I can't think of her name now, Celine, and she's had to leave France, her home, and flee, and she goes to New Orleans and goes to a convent. She gets herself wrapped up in the dark underworld of the New Orleans scene, and it was beautiful. I felt like I was in New Orleans. It was very I can't say that word, so I'm not even going to bother because I'm going to make myself look like an idiot. But I liked the setting. I thought it was brilliant, but I just didn't care enough about the characters. When the big reveal came, because there's murders going on and she's trying to sort of find out who's doing the murders because it looks like they're now after her. When the big reveal came who it was, I was like, oh, okay. And at the end, because that came about 50 pages from the end, at the end we had the bit where obviously it leaves it slightly on a cliffhanger to go on to the next one, and I was like, okay. I just didn't care enough about the characters to really get invested. I liked the setting, I liked New Orleans, I thought she did that very well. Her writing style is lovely, I did enjoy it, but I just didn't care enough about the characters, so I don't know if I'll pick up the next one. If I find it cheap, maybe. I don't. And then I've got The Sea Witch by Sarah Henning. Another one of it was alright. I liked the setting. I thought the writing was very good. It did pull me in. We follow obviously Evie, who is going to end up being the Sea Witch at the end. You follow her story for a few days. I think it's about 4 or 5 days. She's in love with the prince's cousin. The sea gives back a girl who looks a lot like a friend that she lost a few years ago, who is in love with the prince. and you follow them through a few days of the festival in their little seaside village. And yeah, the story was all right. The setting was good. It kind of flowed all right. I like Sarah Henning's writing style. I just didn't feel I cared too much about the characters when the reveals happened about 50 pages from the end. I again, like with The Beautiful, I was like, okay. I didn't care too much. I didn't realise going into this is a series. I don't know if it's just a duology, a trilogy, or a series. I'm not too sure. I know there's another one out, but I'm just like, I don't know if I can be bothered picking it up. I don't see where it's going to go. I don't care, and it's a shame. But I would still pick up Sarah Henning's other books, any other books that she's written. Be if she's written any, I don't know. I'm not too sure. But because I liked her writing style, I just didn't care for the characters, and ultimately, it fell flat for me, which is a shame. So, yes, that was all the books that I've read. Oh, actually, no, sorry. There was one out of my TBR jar that I didn't get to, and that was The Astonishing Colour of After by Emily X.R. Pan, because I was just not in a good place. This does hit some very hard topics about losing a parent to suicide, about depression and things like that. And I just wasn't in the right place to read this. I couldn't, for myself, for my own mental health, I just couldn't pick it up. So I'm afraid I didn't get to read that. So I will be punished. I have bought a book. It's I'm not too sure where it is. I can't find it right now. I'm not too sure. Did I send Kitty with it already? I'm not too sure. But I bought a Charlie Bone book, and that's kind of like a Wizarding School vibe. Kitty had read those when she was in junior school, so I know she liked them. And I know that they are asking for later series. They've got the earlier ones. I think there's like 8 books in the series. I think I've got number 6. Can't remember what it's Charlie Bone and something, a bit like the Harry Potter and so I will be sending that in on Monday morning with Kitty, because obviously being punished for not reading this, but I think I did all right in actual reading. So yeah, I got one punishment, so I'm sending the book in with Kitty, and I also going to leave a poll up above or down below or wherever it will end up being, because I DNF'd obviously I Owe You One by Sophie Kinsella, and I would love to know if you think I should carry on, if it's worth it, if it gets better, or will I still want to throw it out the window? If by March 1st, if I haven't got any votes, because obviously I haven't got many people watching at the moment, but you never know. Or if I have there is a majority yes, then I will somehow fit it into my March TBR. Or if it's a no, I'm going to give it probably to my local library, because I can't ever see myself picking it up without a lot of incentive and a lot of pushing and telling me to. But yeah, so that was my January wrap up. Sorry it was all over the place. I hope you had a great reading month, and I'll see you again soon. Leave me a comment below and let me know what you have read over January, what you loved, or what you didn't love, or what you're planning on reading for February, or just anything you want to chat about. All right.